I accidentally sent the wrong photo to the most dangerous mafia boss in the city. And now she wants to be my sugar mummy. Hi guys, welcome back. Before we continue, if you haven't watched part 1, I'm not even joking, please go and watch it. First pause this video right now, because what you're about to hear will not make sense without context. The link is in the description. Now, you guys remember how Valentina Moretti showed up out of nowhere and completely ruined my date with Lena? Yeah, this is where everything got worse. Lena blinked. I'm not an idiot. Valentina didn't look at her. Cold. Devastating. I wasn't speaking to you, I covered my face, because somehow, this was the most embarrassing moment of my life. I wanted to disappear. Not metaphorically. Not emotionally. Physically. Into smoke. Into air. Into a different zip code. Because there I was, standing outside a wine bar between a sweet normal woman and a mafia boss who looked like she had personally canceled happiness. Lena crossed her arms. Okay, she said slowly. What is this? Valid question. I opened my mouth. Nothing came out. Valentina answered first. A mistake? I turned sharply. Excuse me? She looked at me, not Lena. The date, my jaw dropped. Lena's jaw dropped. Even the security guard nearest the car looked entertained. That was rude, I said. It was accurate. You don't get to review my evening like a restaurant. She stepped closer. And you don't get to ignore danger because you're stubborn. Lena looked between us twice, then held up one hand. You know what? I'm actually going to remove myself from whatever billionaire Batman situation this is. No. She backed away. You seem nice, but your life appears seasonal, fair, painful, fair. She left in a cab before I could defend myself. I watched her go, then turned slowly to Valentina. You ruined my date. I saved your date. You humiliated me. I protected you. You were impossible. And you are reckless. We were both breathing too hard. The city around us blurred into background noise. Her security team stayed back wisely. No one wanted front row seats to whatever this was. I pointed at the men now being loaded into a vehicle. Who were they? Interested parties? That means nothing. It means enough. I stepped forward. No more mysterious rich nonsense. Talk. Her eyes sharpened. Not here, then where? My car. I laughed once. Coldly. Absolutely not. She looked at the street, then back at me. Tammy, choose quickly. Public sidewalk or heated leather seats. I hate practical threats. 5 minutes later, I was in the back of her SUV. Growth remains uneven. The divider was up. The city moved outside in streaks of light. Inside, silence, heavy silence. The kind with emotional invoices attached. I crossed my arms and stared out the window. She sat across from me, equally quiet. Finally, she spoke. You should have answered. You should have boundaries. You knew there was risk. I knew there was drama. You never said attempted kidnapping. I said there were people asking questions that could mean journalists. It did not. I threw my hands up. See? This. You talk like a riddle in a blazer. She exhaled through her nose. Tiny sign of irritation. Huge victory for me. Those men work for a rival group, she said. I blinked. You have rival groups? Yes. That sentence should not exist in my dating life. They were not after you. I paused. Then why approach me? To get to me? The humor drained out of the moment. I looked at her properly now. Still calm. Still composed. But something harder sat beneath it. They knew I would respond if you were involved, she said. My stomach tightened. Because suddenly the black cars made sense. The repeated messages, the urgency, the anger. This had scared her. I hated how much that mattered to me. We pulled into the underground garage of her penthouse building. Private elevator, private entrance, private everything. Rich people fear inconvenience more than death. Upstairs, the penthouse was quiet and warm, too elegant for the mess I felt. I turned the second we entered. No? She removed her coat. No changing the subject with architecture. We're finishing this. She set the coat aside carefully. Fine. You had me followed? Yes, my mouth opened. She continued. For protection? That is still following. You were targeted tonight? You didn't know that before tonight. I knew it was possible. I paced away from her. Then back, then away again. Movement helps when screaming is impolite. You don't get to decide things for me. I do when your safety is involved. See? There? That controlling nonsense? Her voice rose for the first time since I met her. And you think pretending danger does not exist is freedom? The room went still, because now she was angry. Actually angry. Not cold, not calm, alive. I pointed at her chest. You don't own me. No one said I did. You act like it. I act like I care whether you get hurt. That hit harder than intended. I hated accurate emotions. I looked away. Well, maybe I don't need this kind of care. Silence. Then quieter, she said. That is obvious. Something in her tone made me turn back. She was standing near the kitchen island, one hand braced against the marble, the other slightly clenched and shaking. Barely, but enough. I stared. Not rage, not violence, fear, real fear. The kind someone gets after imagining the worst. My anger lost momentum immediately. You were scared, I said. She said nothing. Valentina, still nothing. Then finally, yes. Just one word. No armor on it. No cleverness. No control. The room felt different after that. Smaller. More honest. I stepped closer slowly. You thought they'd hurt me. I thought I was late. There are moments when your chest physically shifts. That was one of them. All week I had seen power, money, control, bodyguards. Tonight I saw the price of it. Caring about someone in a dangerous life means fear never clocks out. Sometimes anger is just fear with nowhere to go. I stopped in front of her. You could have called me. You would have ignored it. I exhaled. Yeah, probably. That almost smile touched her mouth. Tiny. Tired. I noticed then that she still hadn't changed out of the coat, still wore tension in her shoulders, still looked like she'd gone to war in heels. You need tea, I said. One brow lifted. Tea? Yes. You're prescribing beverages after emotional conflict? I'm versatile. I moved into the kitchen before nerves could stop me. To my surprise, she followed. Even more surprising, she let me take over. I found mugs, kettle, tea I could not pronounce. Rich leaves. I pointed at a tin. This one. It's from Japan. So yes, we stood in the kitchen waiting for water to boil. Quiet, not awkward, just new. I glanced sideways. You know Lena thinks I'm unstable now. She was observant. That was a joke. Support me. You survived. That was not support. She looked at me then, long enough to matter. I'm sorry your evening was ruined. I blinked. Was that an apology from her? No cars, no money, no manipulation, just words. I became suspicious immediately. Who are you? I asked. And what have you done with the terrifying woman? She is tired. The kettle clicked. I made tea with the confidence of someone who had no training. We sat on the couch with steaming mugs and city lights around us. She loosened her tie. I nearly lost focus. Tragic. After a while, she said quietly, you can still leave. I looked at her. Tonight. In general, there it was. The real fear. Not rivals. Not raids. Loss. I set my mug down. I'm still mad. I know. I still think you're controlling. I know. You scared me. I know. I leaned back, then added, but I'm also staying tonight? Her eyes met mine. Warmth returned slowly. Dangerous warmth. If you're enjoying this mess, I said to absolutely no one, you should subscribe, because apparently I make terrible decisions under premium lighting. She almost laughed. Almost. And somehow, that felt like progress. I woke up in a bed that probably had better emotional support than most people. The sheets were soft enough to forgive childhood trauma. The pillows respected neck alignment. Even the blanket felt wealthy. For a full 10 seconds, I forgot where I was. Then I opened my eyes, saw the skyline through floor-to-ceiling windows, and remembered. Mafia penthouse. Complicated woman. Tea-fueled emotional vulnerability. Right. I sat up slowly, still wearing one of Valentina's oversized shirts, still smelling faintly like her perfume. That felt medically unhelpful. My phone buzzed on the nightstand. Jay, I answered immediately. Well, what? Did you survive the kidnapping? It was not a kidnapping. Did you kiss? No. Then why am I disappointed? I got out of bed and walked toward the bathroom. Why are you calling this early? Because I care. Also because I'm nosy. Healing can happen in layers. I laughed, then lowered my voice. I think I'm seeing her differently. Jay went quiet. That usually meant danger. How? She's not what I thought. She's rich. Yes. She's scary. Yes, she's hot. Unfortunately. But she's also... I paused, lonely, silence. Then Jay said, Oh no. What? That's worse. How is that worse? Because hot and lonely is how women lose rent money and judgment. I hung up on him for wisdom. When I stepped into the hallway, the penthouse was quiet. Too quiet. Not peaceful quiet. Museum quiet. The kind where nobody lives loudly. I followed the smell of coffee into the kitchen. Valentina was there in a white button-down with sleeves rolled up, reading reports on her tablet. Hair tied back. Glasses on. Glasses. I need a moment. She looked up. You're wearing glasses. Yes, that feels manipulative. They help me read. Still, she almost smiled. Good morning, Tammy. Suspicious start. I moved to the counter. A plate already waited for me. Eggs, toast, fruit, coffee exactly how I liked it. I looked at her slowly. You made breakfast? I arranged breakfast? See? You never just do normal verbs. She returned to reading. Eat. I sat down. The eggs were perfect. Annoying. Do you always know what everyone likes? No, just me. Yes. That should not have made my chest do that. I ate quietly for a minute, then noticed something. The kitchen was huge. The apartment was huge. Everything here was polished, elegant, expensive, and empty. No photos, no clutter, no signs of messy life, no evidence anyone laughed here. I looked around again. Do you hate decoration? I dislike unnecessary things. Memories are not unnecessary. She didn't answer. Interesting. After breakfast, I wandered while she worked. Not snooping, emotionally observing. There was a dining table for 12. I had never seen 12 chairs look sad before. A living room bigger than my apartment. A bookshelf filled with first editions and biographies written by people who probably never had fun. A grand piano no one played. I turned to her. Do you even use half the stuff? It came with the apartment. That is the richest sentence I've ever heard. She continued typing. I walked toward the piano and pressed one key. The sound rang beautifully. Then badly, because I pressed 3 more. Please stop, she said without looking up. You hate joy. I hate suffering. I sat on the piano bench dramatically. When was the last time you had friends over? I don't host. When was the last time you had fun? I'm working now. That was not an answer. She finally looked up. You ask many personal questions for someone living here rent-free. I do not live here. You slept here. Temporary geography. Something in her eyes softened, then vanished. A woman in a dark suit entered silently carrying folders. Tall, efficient, human spreadsheet energy. Your 11 o'clock moved to noon, she told Valentina. Valentina nodded. The woman placed the folders down and left. No smile, no casual tone, no humanity seasoning. I waited until she was gone. Do your employees know you're a person? They know enough. They're terrified of you. They're respectful. Those are cousins, not twins. She ignored me, but I noticed it now. Everyone around her was careful, measured, useful. Nobody teased her. Nobody interrupted her. Nobody rolled their eyes and stole cereal. Nobody treated her like normal. No wonder she kept texting me. I was chaos with opinions. Later that afternoon, I found her eating lunch alone at the 12-seat table. 1 plate, 1 glass of water, 1 woman at the far end like she was attending her own board meeting. I stood there for a second. She looked up. What? You eat like a widow in a movie. I'm eating soup at the loneliest table in America. She glanced around. Then back at me. It's a table. It's a cry for help. I grabbed my bowl and sat directly beside her instead of across. She looked mildly offended. Space exists for a reason. I reject distance. We ate in silence. But different silence now. Warmer. I stole a glance at her. No guards, no headlines, no sharp one-liners. Just a woman eating soup. Beautifully. Annoying talent. Were you always like this? I asked. Like what? Controlled. She set down her spoon. No. What happened? She held my gaze. Life. That answer carried weight. I didn't push. Sometimes people hand you the edge of something painful and trust you not to yank. So I changed subjects. You know what you need? Less commentary? A house party. Absolutely not. Music, people, laughter, nightmare, board games. I'd rather be rated again. I laughed so hard I nearly inhaled soup. She watched me with that tiny, almost smile, and suddenly I understood something. This woman had everything money could buy. Security, luxury, influence, control, and still ate soup alone. Power without peace is just a prettier prison. That thought sat heavy in my chest. I put down my spoon. You don't have to be impressive all the time. Her expression changed slightly. Small enough most people would miss it. I am not most people. Who says I'm trying to be impressive? The apartment, she looked away first. Victory. Later that night, I found a stack of old records beside the piano. Dusty, unused. I carried one over dramatically. We're fixing your vibe. No, yes, no. I put the record on anyway. Jazz filled the room, warm, alive, human. I walked over and held out my hand. Dance? She stared at it like I had offered fraud. I don't dance. You own a piano and look like that. You absolutely dance. I don't. You will tonight. She stayed seated. So I grabbed her wrist gently and pulled. She rose. Tall, elegant, annoyingly cooperative. I placed one hand on her shoulder, the other in hers. Her palm was warm, steady. Mine was not. This is ridiculous, she said. You're welcome. We moved slowly across the living room. Badly. Then better. Then almost naturally. She looked down at me. You're smiling. You're dancing. Under protest. Still counts. My hand slipped slightly at her shoulder. Her fingers tightened around mine. The room went quiet around the music. That dangerous kind of quiet. She looked at my mouth. I looked at hers. Again. A curse at this point. Then the record skipped loudly. We both stepped apart. I glared at the player. Hater. She laughed. Actually laughed. Low. Real. Beautiful. I froze. You can do that? I've been able to. You've been hiding it? For most people? Before I could answer, movement near the hallway caught my eye. Two members of staff stood frozen by the kitchen entrance. One held a silver tray. The other held absolutely no composure. Both were staring at Valentina like they had just seen a shark knitting. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. The woman with the tray whispered. She smiled. The other whispered back. She laughed. Then they both looked at me, like I was witchcraft. Valentina turned her head slowly. They disappeared so fast I felt wind. I looked back at her. Do they usually run like that? They value employment? So you never smile in this house? I smile. No. You threaten elegantly. That almost smile returned. I pointed at her. Criminal, she moved closer again. Careful. Why? You're starting to matter. My heartbeat filed immediate complaints. And for the first time since meeting Valentina Moretti, I wasn't scared of her power. I was scared of what I was starting to feel. By the third night in Valentina Moretti's penthouse, I had learned several important things. Number 1, her coffee machine was smarter than most men. Number 2, her staff feared her with the devotion of people who had seen things. Number 3, the woman did not sleep normally. She appeared at random hours looking expensive and emotionally unavailable. And number 4, living near someone you're trying not to like is a spiritual attack. I came downstairs at midnight for water and found her in the living room, standing by the windows with a glass of whiskey and the city glowing behind her. Black silk shirt, sleeves rolled, hair loose, no glasses tonight. Bad for me. You don't sleep? I asked. She glanced back. I was about to ask you the same. I came for water. You've been holding that empty glass for 30 seconds. I look down. Disrespectful observation. I'm thinking, dangerous hobby. I walked to the kitchen, filled the glass, then came back for absolutely no reason. She was still watching the skyline. You ever relax? I asked. I'm relaxed now. You look like you're negotiating with the moon. That sounds expensive. It does. I leaned against the couch. The room was quiet. No staff moving. No phones ringing. No bodyguards appearing from decorative corners. Just us. And silence that felt warm now. I hated progress. She sipped her drink. You've been staring at me all evening. I have not. You walked into a wall earlier. That wall was aggressive. Something close to a smile touched her mouth. Tiny. Rare. Worth documenting. I pointed at her. There. Do that again. Do what? Human emotion, your bold and borrowed pajamas? I'm brave in all fabrics. She stepped closer. Just one step. Still too much. You talk more at night. I'm nocturnal and defensive. You're nervous. You're near me. That excuse is aging well. I should have walked away. Instead, I stayed exactly where I was, like a woman with no survival instincts. She set the whiskey down, slowly, then came closer. No rush, no dramatic speech, just confidence in heels. My pulse started behaving like it had no home training. You know, I said, for someone so feared, you're very committed to standing in my personal space. I like your personal space. That sounded criminal. Likely, I swallowed. The city lights reflected in the windows behind her, making everything feel too cinematic for my tax bracket. Her eyes dropped to my mouth. Mine betrayed me instantly and did the same. Again, a curse. You're staring, I whispered. You noticed. You're not subtle. I'm not trying to be. That one landed directly in my bloodstream. I cleared my throat. So what now? Now, she said softly, you stop talking for 1 full minute. That feels unrealistic. Her hand lifted. Paused near my face. Giving me time to move. I didn't. Her fingers brushed my jaw lightly, warm, careful. Nothing like the ruthless woman everyone whispered about. It's funny how the coldest people sometimes touch the gentlest. I forgot how breathing worked. Tammy, there should be regulations around the way she said my name. Yes. You can still say no, my chest tightened. Because that mattered. Because under all the danger and control and expensive chaos, she still asked. I shook my head once, very small, very doomed. She leaned in slowly, close enough for her perfume to ruin my judgment, close enough for my thoughts to file for leave. Then her lips touched mine. Soft, warm, steady. No rush, no force, just certainty. For 1 perfect second, the whole world went quiet. Then my hand grabbed her shirt. By instinct, by weakness, by patriotism. She made the smallest sound against my mouth and deepened the kiss. Oh no, this was significantly better than expected. I kissed her back properly. The glass slipped from my hand onto the couch. Didn't care. My knees lost structure. My morals took a walk. One of her hands settled at my waist, firm and possessive enough to be dangerous, gentle enough to be unfair. When we finally pulled apart, I stared at her like she owed me compensation. That, I said breathlessly, was rude. Her thumb brushed my hip once. How? You knew what you were doing. Yes, manipulative. Yes, again. A real smile appeared. Slow, sharp, beautiful, very honest of you. I hated that woman. I kissed her first the second time. Growth. Her surprise lasted half a heartbeat before she pulled me closer. This kiss was less polite, more heat, more trouble, more proof I had no long-term planning skills. Somewhere near the hallway, a tray clattered loudly. We broke apart. I looked over. One staff member stood frozen with his silver tray tilted sideways, 2 glasses rolling dramatically across the floor. Another stood behind him, staring at us like religion had become visible. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. The first man whispered, "She kissed someone." The second whispered back, "She kissed her twice." Then both looked at Valentina. She turned her head slowly. They vanished so fast I heard shoes squeak. I looked back at her. Do your employees always flee like cartoon characters? They value employment, so this is new for them. I don't mix business with personal life. I blinked. Wait, I'm your personal life? Her gaze held mine. dangerously calm. You're becoming one. My heartbeat filed several complaints. I stepped back to regain dignity. Failed. This is moving fast. You live here temporarily. You steal my shirts. Borrow. You insult me daily. Culture. She moved closer again. You kissed me twice. That was stress. That was enthusiasm. I pointed at her chest. Do not weaponize facts. She took my hand gently and kissed my knuckles once. Show-off behavior. Then her phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen. The warmth vanished slightly. Business face returned. I hated how quickly I noticed. You have to go? I asked. For an hour at midnight? Yes. Crime never sleeps. Neither do markets. That was not a real answer. She touched my chin lightly. Stay inside. That sentence is still unsettling. It remains practical. She walked toward the door, then paused, looked back once, and said, Try not to flirt with anyone while I'm gone. I stared after her, then shouted to the empty room. You live with bodyguards. No response, just silence. And me standing there in borrowed pajamas, freshly kissed, emotionally compromised, and smiling like an idiot. By the second week of accidentally dating organized danger, I had learned something important. Valentina Moretti could command men, move money, terrify rivals, and silence a room with one glance. But she did not know how to order food from a street cart. That level of wealth is embarrassing. We were in the back seat of one of her black SUVs, gliding through downtown Blackthorne City while she handled calls in 2 languages and ruined economies with calm sentences. I was bored, which is dangerous. You know what your problem is? I asked. She ended a call without looking up. Choose one. You've never eaten from a sidewalk. I have. No. You've purchased things near sidewalks. Different energy. She looked at me. You're dramatic. You're deprived. The driver coughed once, trying not to laugh. Brave man. I leaned forward. Turn left. Valentina's eyes narrowed. Why? Because today, I said, we begin your rehabilitation. 10 minutes later, the SUV was illegally parked beside Rico's grill cart, the most beloved hot dog stand in Westbridge. Steam rose into the cold air. Music played from a speaker held together by faith. People were lined up. Valentina stepped out in a camel coat and heels worth my rent. The entire sidewalk paused. Even Rico blinked. Ma'am, he said carefully, this cart takes cash. I laughed so hard I almost folded. Valentina looked at him. Do you know who I am? Rico shrugged. Hungry? I gasped. I loved civilians. I grabbed her arm before bodyguards overreacted. She'll have 2 dogs. Extra onions. Valentina looked offended. I have not agreed. You need culture. She lowered her voice. You brought me into weather for processed meat. Yes. The bodyguards stood nearby, scanning rooftops while their boss held a hot dog. I wish I had a camera. Valentina examined it like evidence. How do I eat this? I stared. You've never had one? I don't eat mystery meat in public. That sentence alone deserves prison. I took a bite of mine. She watched, then copied me carefully. Chewed once, twice, paused. I waited. Well, she swallowed. Then took another bite immediately. I pointed. Oh my God, it's acceptable. Liar. That was joy. It was surprise. Same neighborhood. Even the bodyguard nearest us looked offended on my behalf. We sat on a bench eating like mismatched fugitives. Valentina in luxury wool, me in sneakers, both sharing fries. Life is random. After food, I decided to continue public service. You text like a tax attorney, I told her. I text efficiently? No. You text like every message ends in consequences. I'm concise. You once replied to good morning with noted. That was morning. That was terrifying. She almost smiled. I opened her phone. She let me. Growth. We're fixing this you're touching classified material. You have Candy Crush. It's strategy? I snorted, then changed her keyboard shortcuts. Okay. When I type LOL, what does it mean? She asked, laughing out loud. I've never done that digitally. That is obvious. What is no cap? It means no lie. That seems backwards. It's culture. What is Delulu? You, if you think I'm explaining twice. She looked deeply unimpressed, then typed something. I glanced down. No cap, this hot dog altered me. I screamed. You used it right. I adapted quickly. That was hot. She raised one brow. The phrase or me? I needed water. When we got back to the penthouse, I found Jay already inside eating imported strawberries. How do you keep entering secure buildings? I asked. He pointed at Valentina. She scares reception into cooperation. Valentina removed her coat. Jay straightened immediately. For the first time in history, that man was humble. Miss Moretti, he said. Jay, she replied. He looked at me. She knows my name. I'm changing. We all sat in the kitchen, which was surreal. Jay and Valentina together felt like two genres colliding. He asked careful questions. She gave dangerous, calm answers. Then he got comfortable. So, how many people have you threatened today? 3. Efficient. I kicked him under the table. He ignored pain. Then he leaned closer to me and whispered loudly, She's finer in person. Stay focused. Valentina looked up. I heard that... Jay smiled nervously. I respect transparency. I decided to save everyone by changing subjects. Tell her about Darren. Jay froze. Valentina looked interested. Who is Darren? Jay glared at me. A mistake. I smiled sweetly. The bartender who ghosted him but still watches his stories. Valentina turned to Jay. You allow this? I am healing. She nodded once. Block him, Jay gasped. That's powerful. I know, I said. She solves problems with violence and boundaries. We moved to the kitchen while dinner finished cooking. By cooking, I mean chefs somewhere in the hidden part of the penthouse were doing rich miracles. Music played softly. I pulled Valentina toward the island. Dance? No. Yes. No. Your no has become decorative. Jay clutched his chest. She talks to you crazy. She survives, Valentina said calmly. I laughed, then took Valentina's hands and moved them. Slow steps. Nothing serious, just swaying. She was stiff for 10 seconds, then better, then suspiciously good. You lied, I said. About not dancing. I don't dance publicly. You are in your kitchen. Jay is here. I can still hear you, Jay called. We ignored him. Valentina's hand settled lightly at my waist. Small touch, large consequences. She looked down at me in that way that made decisions harder. You enjoy correcting me, she said softly. You're highly correctable. Her thumb moved once against my side. I forgot the next joke entirely. Jay stood up dramatically. I need air. Or therapy. He grabbed more strawberries and left. Coward. The kitchen went quieter. Valentina tucked hair behind my ear. Gentle. Dangerous. You've changed the atmosphere of my home, she said. That sounds expensive. It is. Then one of her bodyguards entered, stopped dead, and stared. Because there stood their terrifying boss, holding my waist while soft jazz played. The woman blinked once, twice, then said, Apologies, I can come back when this is over. I burst out laughing. Valentina didn't move her hand. Do that? She said calmly. The guard vanished immediately. I looked up at her. They're scared of you? They're observant. You used to be all ice. And now? Her gaze dropped to my mouth. Now I'm distracted. My heartbeat became unprofessional. I stepped back before common sense got fired. She caught my wrist lightly. Stay. That one word did something rude to me. Funny how the woman who controlled cities could sound almost soft with me. I used to think rich people had everything. Turns out some of them just needed someone to teach them how to eat hot dogs and text like a human. And no cap. She was getting attached. There are many ways to know your life has become unstable. 1, your landlord starts greeting you respectfully. 2, bodyguards know your coffee order. 3, you wake up in silk sheets wondering if you should apologize to a mafia boss for stealing her hoodie. And 4, a beautiful woman looks at you for 3 seconds and decides you are beneath furniture. That happened on a Thursday, which was rude because Thursdays already struggle. Valentina had invited me to a charity gala. When rich people say charity gala, what they mean is expensive lighting, tiny food, and people lying elegantly. I am not going, I told her. You are dressed. That is unrelated. You've been wearing that dress for 20 minutes. I'm thinking in it. She walked over, adjusted the strap on my shoulder, and stepped back. There should be laws against composed women fixing your clothes. You look beautiful, she said. That compliment was strategic. It was accurate. I hated when she used truth as a weapon. FIMP was held at the St. Aurel Museum, a giant glass building full of art no one understood, and donors who said words like initiative with too much confidence. The moment we entered, heads turned, not toward me, toward Valentina. Power has a scent. People made space before she even reached them. Hands shook hers, eyes lowered. Smiles appeared from nowhere. And beside her, in borrowed diamonds and emotional confusion, was me. I leaned closer. Everyone here looks expensive and unhappy. They are comforting. Her hand found the small of my back. Possessive enough to notice, light enough to deny, I nearly forgot language. Then she appeared. Tall, elegant, silver gown. Dark hair pinned perfectly. Face so beautiful it felt intentional. She walked toward us with the calm confidence of a woman who had never once doubted herself. Valentina's expression changed slightly. Not fear, not warmth. History. Interesting. Selene, Valentina said. So this was Selene, the kind of name that arrives with consequences. Valentina, her voice was smooth enough to commit fraud. Then she looked at me. Once. Twice. A small pause. Not threatened. Not curious. Dismissive. I would have preferred insult. And this is, she asked. I opened my mouth. Valentina answered first. Tammy, just Tammy. No explanation. That somehow felt intimate. Selene gave me a polite smile so cold it deserved weather warnings. Charming, I smiled back. Suspicious adjective. Valentina's mouth almost moved. Victory. Selene turned to her. We should speak privately. No, it came fast. Sharp. Interesting again. Selene's eyes flicked to me. Still protective, I see. I pretended not to hear because class matters. It does not always win, but it matters. Valentina took my champagne flute and replaced it with sparkling water. I stared. Did you just parent me in public? You're already warm, I'm standing. You flushed when she arrived. That was irritation. That was visible. I wanted to argue, but Selene was still there being graceful and sinister. She stepped closer to me while Valentina was momentarily distracted by some donor with expensive teeth. Walk with me, she said. That sounded less like a request. It was efficient. Oh, so this was her type. I followed because curiosity has never once protected me. We moved toward a quiet sculpture hall lined with marble and judgment. Selene stopped beside a giant statue of a woman holding a sword. Appropriate. She looked me over again. Slowly, like she was pricing inconvenience. You're prettier than the others, she said. I blinked. Thank you. I think it wasn't a compliment. There it was. Finally, I folded my arms. You could have opened with that. She ignored me. Valentina enjoys disruptions. I'm adorable, not a disruption. You're temporary. That one landed. I hated her immediately. She's had interests before, Selene continued. They learned when to leave. I smiled. Sweetly. The kind of smile people mistake for softness. Then it's lucky for me, I said, that I don't take lessons from strangers. Her eyes sharpened. Tiny victory. You think this is romance, she said quietly. It is habit. She likes puzzles. You are noisy and new. That one hurt more than I let show, so naturally I got funnier. You came all this way to bully me in a museum? I came to warn you. Do I look grateful? You look unprepared. She leaned closer. Women like you don't last in Valentina's world. There are moments when humiliation arrives, dressed as truth. This was one of them, because part of me wondered if she was right. I had no guards, no strategy, no power, no place in rooms like this, just sarcasm and good cheekbones. Still, never let a villain see confusion. I straightened. Women like me, I said softly, usually leave rooms brighter than they found them. Then I walked away before my voice could betray me. My heels were steady. My chest was not. Back in the main hall, Valentina was scanning the room. The second she saw me, something in her shoulders eased. That should have comforted me. Instead, it made Selene's words louder. "You are temporary." Valentina reached for my hand. "You disappeared." "I have legs." "You're upset. I'm at a gala." "It's the dress code." Her eyes narrowed. "What did she say?" "Wouldn't you like to know?" "Tammy, no." I smiled at a passing waiter and stole 2 mini desserts. Growth. The rest of the night blurred. People spoke. Music played. Money donated itself. I laughed when expected, smiled when required, and felt smaller by the minute. On the drive home, I was quiet. Valentina noticed immediately. "You're spiraling." Bold diagnosis. "You've been counting streetlights for 15 minutes. I like numbers. You hate math. Annoying woman." She reached for my hand. I moved it to fix my hair. Cowardice with style. When we got to the penthouse, I told her I was tired and went straight to the guest room, then into the shower. Then I cried for 6 minutes. Not dramatic sobbing, just silent, angry tears. The kind caused when someone says what you already feared. I turned off the water and stared at myself in the mirror. Wet hair, red eyes, still cute, important detail. Then I got mad, because who was Selene to decide my expiration date? Who gave elegant women licenses to be cruel? Why was I letting some silver-dressed menace shake me? I got dressed, opened the bathroom door, and found Valentina waiting outside. Leaning against the wall, arms crossed, eyes unreadable. "How long have you been there?" I asked. "Long enough, creepy. You cried." I froze. "No," I moisturized aggressively. She stepped closer. "What did she say?" I looked at her for a long moment, then said the truth. "She said I wouldn't last. The room went still." Something cold entered Valentina's face. Dangerous cold. Not for me, for someone else. Then she asked quietly, "Do you believe her?" I should have lied. Instead, I whispered, "I don't know." And for the first time since meeting her, Valentina looked hurt. Valentina looked hurt. Not angry, not cold, not unreadable in that expensive, dangerous way she usually preferred. Hurt, and somehow that was worse. Because anger I knew how to fight. Coldness I knew how to mock. But pain? Pain asks something of you. I hated emotional homework. We stood in the hallway outside the guest room. Soft light, late hour. Too much honesty in the air. She straightened slowly. "If you don't know," she said quietly, "then I failed somewhere." "That is not what I said. It's what I heard." She turned as if to leave. Instinct moved before pride. I caught her wrist, warm skin, stillness. "Wait," she looked back at me. That dangerous calm was gone. In its place was something far more terrifying. Vulnerability. I didn't mean... I exhaled. Selene got in my head. She shouldn't have had access. Well, she has legs and opinions. That is not what I meant. I almost smiled. Almost. She looked at my hand still holding her wrist. I let go quickly. Because dignity occasionally remembers me. "Come downstairs," she said. That sounded like a threat. It's a request. That sounded worse somehow. Still, I followed her. Because I am curious by nature and foolish by pattern. We ended up in the kitchen. Of course. Every emotional crisis in this penthouse eventually led to marble countertops. She poured 2 coffees. At midnight. Criminal behavior. "You drink coffee this late?" I asked. "I need clarity. You need boundaries." She handed me a mug. I took it. Then noticed her hands. Steady now, but tighter than usual around the cup. She was nervous. That realization alone could have fed me for weeks. We sat across from each other. No staff. No bodyguards. No audience. Just us and whatever truth was coming. "You asked me once why you," she said. "I ask many things. I know." She looked into her coffee for a moment, then began. 3 years ago, there was a storm. I blinked. That's how this starts. It happened during a storm. Continue. I had been in court all day. Then at war with 3 men pretending to be partners. Then on the phone with someone I no longer speak to. Cheerful. I was tired. That word sounded heavier coming from her. Tired enough, she continued, that I stopped at a small coffee shop on Mercer Street. I frowned. Mercer grind? Yes? That place with the rude muffins? They were acceptable. I waved a hand. Proceed, I was sitting alone, irritated, exhausted. Everyone who approached me wanted something that tracked. Then she looked at me. And then you sat across from me. I stared. No, yes. I would remember sitting with a woman who looks like a luxury lawsuit. You didn't look at me properly. That was rude and probably true. I leaned forward. What happened? You were carrying too many bags, talking to yourself, and angry at the rain. That also tracked. You asked if the seat was taken, and you said, I said nothing. Charming, you sat anyway. I covered my face. That sounds like me. You looked at me for 5 seconds and said, She paused, then repeated my own words back to me. You look like today owes you money, I gasped. Oh my God. You then placed a napkin in front of me and said, You also look like you might cry in designer clothing, and I respect privacy, so if it happens, I saw nothing. I stared at her. I said that, Yes, that is incredible. It was absurd. I was already smiling. Then she ruined me. You bought my coffee. My mouth fell open. No, I didn't. You argued with the cashier because they charged extra for oat milk, as I should. She almost smiled. You told him sadness was already free. I stood up. I'm hilarious. You were kind. That landed differently. I sat back down slowly. She continued. You didn't ask my name. I had manners. You didn't ask what I did. I had instincts. You didn't flirt. I frowned. Missed opportunity. That earned the smallest real smile. Then it vanished. You just talked to me like I was normal. The kitchen went quiet. Sometimes one sentence carries years inside it. This one did. In my world, she said softly, people usually want access, money, favor, fear, something. Her eyes met mine. You wanted nothing. I didn't know what to do with that. So naturally, I made a joke. I wanted my muffin heated. You complained about that too, as I should. She exhaled a laugh. Low, real, then grew serious again. I never forgot you. My chest tightened. When your photo came through that night, I recognized you immediately. Everything in me went still. The thirst trap, the texts, the rent extension, the flowers, the breakfasts, the way she looked at me like she knew more than she should. All this time. She didn't fall for the selfie, I whispered. Valentina held my gaze. I fell for the woman who sat beside a stranger in a storm and expected nothing back. Something in my chest cracked open quietly. All week I thought I was chaos that wandered into her life by accident. But I had mattered before the picture, before the flirting, before the games, before I knew her name. Small kindness can echo for years in places you never see. I looked down because tears are private and I believe in standards. When I spoke, my voice was softer. You should have told me. I know. Why didn't you? I wanted you to choose me for who I am now. That was painfully fair. I laughed weakly. You really chose the weirdest route possible. I often do. I stood and walked around the island before I could overthink it, then stopped in front of her. She looked up, careful now, as if I were the dangerous one. Good. I touched her face lightly, warm skin, sharp cheekbone, too much woman. You are ridiculous, I whispered. I know, you scared me. I know. You manipulated rent. A little. I laughed through the tears I pretended were not there. Then I kissed her. No hesitation this time. No shock. No audience. Just gratitude, anger, tenderness, and several unresolved issues. She stood immediately and pulled me closer. Coffee forgotten, pride missing, hands at my waist, my fingers in her hair. When we broke apart, I rested my forehead against hers, breathing hard, emotionally unemployed. If this chapter just hit you somewhere real, I murmured to nobody and everybody, subscribe. Because I have a feeling the next part is where everything falls apart before it gets beautiful. She blinked. Were you narrating our moment? Yes, concerning. Be quiet and kiss me again? She did. And for one reckless hour, the world outside that penthouse stopped existing. People think leaving looks dramatic. They imagine shouting, tears, doors slamming, rain for no reason. But sometimes leaving is quiet. Sometimes it happens while someone you love is still asleep. Sometimes it happens because staying has started to cost other people. That morning began with flowers, which should have been suspicious. I woke up in Valentina's bed with sunlight pouring through the windows and white roses on the nightstand. Fresh, expensive, unnecessary. I smiled anyway. Weakness. Valentina was already gone. A note lay beneath the vase. Meeting, back by noon, eat breakfast, no greeting, no softness. Just commands in elegant handwriting. I hated that it still felt affectionate. I showered, stole one of her shirts, and went downstairs. The kitchen was empty except for coffee, fruit, and a bodyguard who looked personally offended by mornings. "Good morning," I said. She nodded once. Hostile sunrise energy. My phone buzzed. "Jay," I answered with toast in my mouth. Well, what? Have you moved in?" "No. Do you know where the forks are?" I paused. "Yes." "You live there." I hated technicalities. Then his voice changed, less playful. "Tammy, someone came by my place last night. The toast stopped being fun." "What?" A woman, silver dress energy, expensive coat, face like judgment. My stomach dropped. "Selene." "What did she want?" "She asked if I cared about you." I stood so fast the chair nearly fell. "Jay, I'm fine." "What did she say?" He exhaled. "She said some people become collateral before they become family." The room went cold. Bodyguard morning woman looked up immediately. I lowered my voice. "Did she threaten you?" She smiled while saying it, which felt worse. I pressed a hand to my forehead. "I'm coming." "No, don't bring the Avengers. Just think. Too late." I was already thinking about black cars, raid headlines, men in alleys, bodyguards at every door, thinking about how danger had felt cinematic when it circled me, less cinematic when it touched Jay. I ended the call and looked at the bodyguard. "I need to leave. You should wait for Ms. Moretti." I said, "I need to leave." She stared for a second, then stepped aside. Interesting. Even fear had manners here. The drive to Jay's apartment felt longer than geography allowed. He opened the door wearing pajamas and fake bravery. I hugged him immediately. He blinked. "Oh, wow. We're doing feelings. Shut up." We stepped inside. Nothing broken. Nothing stolen. No violence. Just a room that suddenly felt unsafe because someone had entered it to send a message. Jay handed me a card left on his table. No name. Just one sentence. People around her become targets. I sat down slowly. Sometimes truth sounds cruel because it arrives without mercy. Jay watched me carefully. "She's not wrong." I looked up. "Do not help villains. I'm helping reality." He sat beside me. "I love that you're happy." "I do. But this thing around her? It's not normal." "I know." "You laugh more lately." I swallowed. "I know. You also flinch every time your phone rings. That one hit. Because it was true. Love should not feel like waiting for sirens." He touched my shoulder. "You don't have to earn chaos because it comes in designer packaging." Rude. Wise. Rude. I left his place an hour later, with my chest full of broken glass. By the time I got back to the penthouse, Valentina was home, standing in the living room, still in work clothes, still beautiful enough to be inconvenient. Still the woman I loved. There. I admitted it. Gross. Her eyes found mine immediately. "You left without security. You had meetings. You should have waited." "You should have warned me." The room sharpened. "What happened?" Selene visited Jay. Her expression changed so fast it scared me. Not guilt. Rage. She did what? She went to his home. That was not authorized. I laughed once. "Do you hear yourself?" She stepped closer. "I will handle it. That is exactly the problem, Tammy." "No." I held up a hand. For once, she stopped. I looked at her and saw everything at the same time. The woman who remembered my coffee order from years ago. The woman who kissed me like truth. The woman whose life required the phrase "not authorized." "I love you," I said. She went still, completely still. Then softer, "Tammy, but I am not built for this world." Pain moved across her face so quickly I almost pretended I hadn't seen it. I already am. I pointed around the penthouse. At the guards, the codes, the threats, the rivals. The way danger keeps finding the door, she came closer, slowly, as if approaching something injured. I can change things? You can't change what surrounds you overnight? I can try, I know that was what made it harder. Because she would try. Because she cared. Because love was not the issue. Reality was. I went upstairs before courage expired, packed quietly, a bag, my clothes, my dignity, harder to locate. When I came back down, she was exactly where I had left her. Hands in pockets, jaw tight, eyes full of storm she refused to show. I placed an envelope on the table. For when I'm gone, don't do this, her voice was low. Human. I nearly broke on impact. If I stay, I whispered, I'll start calling fear normal. She looked away first. I had never seen her lose anything gracefully. Until now. I walked to the door. She did not stop me. That hurt more than if she had. At the elevator, I turned back once. She was still standing there, tall, beautiful, powerful, helpless. I almost ran back. Instead, I left. The note inside the envelope said only, I'm not built for this world. I don't want to be... TJ opened the door when I reached his place. One look at me and he stopped joking. Oh yeah, he pulled me inside. No speeches, no questions, just space. Sometimes mercy looks like silence. I sat on his couch and stared at nothing. Leaving was the right thing. Why does the right thing always feel like this? 3 days after I left Valentina Moretti, I learned heartbreak is deeply inconvenient. It does not care if rent is due. It does not care if you need to smile at customers. It does not care if your best friend is frying eggs in the kitchen while singing breakup songs in a voice that should require permits. It simply arrives, sits on your chest, and starts rearranging furniture. Jay slid a plate toward me. Eat, I'm suffering, you can suffer with protein. I hate your wisdom. You hate consequences. Rude. Accurate. Rude. I poked the eggs dramatically. My phone sat face down beside me. Silent. Too silent. For 3 days there had been no flowers. No black SUVs idling outside. No mysterious deliveries. No expensive messages asking if I had eaten. No one terrifying receptionist on my behalf. Nothing. I should have felt relieved. Instead, the quiet felt wrong. Like someone had turned the music off mid-song. Jay watched me carefully. You know what's sick? He asked. What? You miss emotional terrorism? I miss breakfast. Same woman. I threw toast at him. Weakly. That evening I worked a shift at Halo Beauty Supply. A customer asked if I could make wrinkles disappear. Kyle hid in the stockroom to avoid effort. Mia told me she was back with her ex for closure. Normal life. I'd wanted normal life, so why did it suddenly feel so small? When I got home, rain had started. Thin rain. Movie rain. I climbed the stairs to Jay's apartment carrying groceries and unresolved feelings, then stopped. Someone was sitting outside the door. No guards. No driver. No designer entourage. No architecture of power. Just one woman in a dark wool coat, elbows on knees, hands clasped, staring at the floor. Valentina. For a second she looked almost unfamiliar, not because she was different, because she was unshielded. Without the penthouse, the cars, the bodyguards, the distance. She looked human. Tired too. She looked up when my grocery bag shifted. Our eyes met. Neither of us spoke. Jay opened the door behind me, saw her, and gasped so loudly he became weather. Oh my God. Then, to his credit, he slowly backed inside. I was never here. The door shut. Coward. I stood there gripping grocery bags like weapons. You found stairs, I said. I'm adaptable. Her voice was softer than usual. No steel in it, no performance. No cars? I asked. No guards. No hidden gifts in the hallway. No. I narrowed my eyes. Suspicious. A small, almost smile appeared, then disappeared. I set the groceries down. My hands needed freedom. What are you doing here? Trying correctly. That one hit directly in the ribs? I looked away first. Hated that. Come inside, I said. Really? No. But the neighbors are nosy. Fair. Inside, Jay had vanished into his room with the speed of a witness relocating. Valentina stood awkwardly in the center of the living room. Awkwardly. I had not known she could do that. Sit, I said. She obeyed immediately. Also knew. I stayed standing because strategy matters. She glanced around the apartment. Same cheap couch, same narrow kitchen, same window repaired with tape and denial. I hate that draft, she said. That was judgment. That was concern. I folded my arms. Why did you come? She met my eyes. No games, no elegant dodging. I know how to protect people, she said quietly. I'm still learning how to love them. Everything in me went still, because that was either the most honest thing anyone had ever said to me or the most dangerous sentence in the English language. I stared at her. That is either the most honest thing anyone's ever said to me or the best manipulation I've ever witnessed. She nodded once. Reasonable reaction. Which would make you stay? She asked. My throat tightened. The honest thing, then it's the honest thing. I sat slowly across from her. The room was silent except for Jay pretending not to breathe behind the bedroom door. I looked at her for a long time, then asked the real question. What changed? Her answer came immediately. You left. That is not enough. I know. She leaned forward slightly. This time I came with answers instead of gifts. Good start. I gestured. Proceed. She took a folded document from her coat and placed it on the table. No dramatic flourish. No lawyer energy. Just paper. I ended Selene's access the same night you left. I blinked. What does that mean? She no longer has entry to any business meetings, properties, accounts, staff channels, or private networks connected to me. I stared. You can fire elegant people like that. Yes, hot. She ignored me. I reassigned security rotations. Your name and Jay's name are restricted from internal discussion. No one connected to me contacts either of you without my approval. That mattered. A lot, she continued. Jay has private protection for the next month. The bedroom door opened instantly. Jay leaned out. I knew it. I pointed. Go back inside. He retreated. No shame. I looked back at her. You protected him? Yes. Without telling me, you were angry. Still am. Understood. Annoyingly calm woman. I took a breath, then said it clearly. I didn't leave because you were Mafia. Something shifted in her expression. Tiny. Attentive. I left because danger started knowing my people. The room went quiet. No jokes left in it. She nodded slowly. I know, I could handle weird texts. Guards, rivals, headlines. I know. I could not handle my best friend opening his door to your world. I know. Her voice was lower now. Rougher. I should have understood that before you had to teach me with absence. That sentence hurt beautifully. I rubbed my palms together. Can you even change enough? Yes. Overnight? No. Then what are we doing? She held my gaze. Building something safer than what I offered before? There it was. Not fantasy. Effort. I hated how much I respected effort. She opened the paper. A handwritten list. Not typed. Not legal. Her handwriting. Shockingly neat. I took it. At the top it said, for Tammy, underneath, no surveillance of Tammy or anyone she loves. No involvement of Tammy in business matters. No rival, associate, or employee approaches Tammy again. Tammy keeps her own apartment, keys, income choices. Any fear Tammy names gets taken seriously the first time. Arguments pause for food. Love will not be used as pressure. I read it twice, then once more. You wrote this? Yes, by hand. Yes, why? Because contracts are for power. Her eyes held mine. This is for trust. That nearly finished me. I stood up and walked to the kitchen because feelings should not win publicly. I opened the fridge, closed it, opened it again, no plan. Valentina stayed where she was. Didn't follow, didn't crowd. Growth looked expensive on her. From the bedroom, Jay hissed loudly. If you don't kiss her, I will... Shut up, we both shouted. Then looked at each other, then laughed. The first real laugh in days. I turned back to her. I missed you. Her inhale caught. Small, sharp, as if hope still surprised her. I missed you every hour. That was dramatic. It was accurate. Some things remain stable. I walked back slowly, stopped in front of her. You scare me. I know. You frustrate me. I know you are too composed. I know you are learning. I am trying that one mattered most. I touched her jaw lightly, warm skin, tension there. She was more nervous than I was. Historic moment. If I kiss you, I said, this is not forgiveness. I know. It is reconsideration. I welcome review, show off. I kissed her anyway. Soft at first, then harder. Then with 3 days of missing her and trying not to admit it. She stood quickly, hands settling at my waist like they belonged there and knew it. The grocery bag tipped over. An onion rolled dramatically across the floor. No one cared. When we finally pulled apart, forehead to forehead, breathing unevenly, I whispered, "You are exhausting. I know. I still love you." Her eyes closed briefly, like relief physically hurt. "I know," she said quietly, "and I am trying to deserve it." From the bedroom, Jay sobbed loudly. Neither of us acknowledged him. Some mercies are communal. Getting back together with Valentina Moretti was less like restarting a relationship and more like negotiating with weather. Beautiful weather, expensive weather, weather that could ruin your week and then buy you flowers. We did not rush. That surprised me. I expected grand gestures, helicopters, jewelry, a violinist appearing from nowhere. Instead, she came back the next morning with coffee and a legal folder. I opened the door in pajamas and suspicion. What is this? Boundaries. I stared at the folder, then at her, then back at the folder. You printed my emotional needs. I had them reviewed. By who? A lawyer. I covered my face. This is why people fear you. She stepped inside and handed me coffee. Page 3 is the important part. I flipped it open. There, in clean typed letters, was a list. Jay may insult me without consequence. Tammy may refuse events at any time. No surveillance of Tammy or her friends. No involving Tammy in business matters. No contacting rivals through third parties. Tammy keeps her own apartment and keys. All arguments pause for food. I looked up slowly. You agreed to everything? Yes. No negotiation. You seemed attached to them. That is suspicious behavior. It is compromise. I hated how attractive growth was. Jay walked in, took one look at the folder, and sat down immediately. She got relationship paperwork. She got boundaries, Valentina corrected. He nodded solemnly. Marriage energy, leave, I said. No, fair. The next few weeks became something new. Not fairy tale, not disaster. Real. I kept my apartment. Stayed over sometimes. Worked my shifts. Started planning the beauty studio I had talked about for years. Valentina did not try to take over, which shocked everyone, including me. She asked questions instead. What would you name it? How many chairs do you need? Why are mirrors so expensive? Because vanity has a market, I told her. Reasonable answer. She introduced me to a commercial realtor named Mara who feared her deeply and therefore worked efficiently. I toured spaces, rejected 6. One smelled like regret. One had no natural light. One had a landlord who called me sweetheart. He did not after Valentina arrived. Useful woman. Eventually I found it. Corner unit in Westbridge. Big windows. Brick walls. Enough room for stations, products, and dreams. I stood in the empty space and saw it instantly. Reception desk. Soft lighting. Music. Women leaving feeling expensive. Mine. Valentina watched me quietly. You love it, she said. I do. Then take it. I will. She glanced at me. I was offering support, not ownership, growth. Again, I kissed her in the dusty middle of the room. The contractor pretended blindness. As for Selene, that chapter ended smarter than violent. Valentina cut business ties, moved assets, closed access points, reassigned people, no dramatic revenge, no blood, just doors shutting one by one until Selene had no room left to play games. Power used quietly is still power. I respected it, mostly. Jay respected nothing. He became obsessed with helping me design the studio. By helping, I mean choosing terrible names. Hot Girl Headquarters, no. Face Card Unlimited, no. Pretty and Paid. I paused. Valentina looked up. Jay gasped. I moved you. It's under review, I said. We finally chose Kent Glow Studio. Simple, clean. Mine. Opening day came faster than fear. The sign went up. Flowers arrived from 6 people and one anonymous sender who was not anonymous at all. Inside the largest bouquet was a card. Proud of you. Eat breakfast. 5th, I smiled so hard my cheeks filed complaints. The first client sat in my chair at 9:05 a.m. The second came from referrals. By noon we were busy. By evening I was standing in my own studio with sore feet and a full heart. Valentina arrived after closing. No entourage. Just a coat, tired eyes, and takeout bags. You're late, I said. You're glowing. That was smooth. It was accurate. She looked around the studio slowly. Mirrors shining. Shelves stocked. My name on the wall. Then back at me. You built this. I did, with some support, with some terrifying networking. She nodded. Fair. There was still chaos in our life. She still worked in a world I would never fully love. I still talked back when silence was smarter. Jay still entered homes like a raccoon with opinions. Nothing became perfect. Thank God. Perfect is boring. We learned instead. She learned to text like a person. I learned that love can be safe without being soft. She learned memes and used them badly. I learned rich women can apologize if cornered correctly. She learned breakfast matters. I learned that some walls melt slowly. I reached up and fixed her tie. You know, I said, I only wanted someone to rate my selfie. She pulled me gently closer. Unfortunate beginning. I sent it to the wrong number, got my rent paid, my boss fired, my life reorganized, and somehow ended up with a terrifying, elegant, completely obsessed girlfriend who is still learning what a meme is. I know memes. You used one in a board meeting. It was effective. I laughed. I'm proud of you. No games, no elegance, just truth. My eyes burned instantly. Rude. I smiled into the empty room. For the record, I said, you're still terrifying. I know. And difficult. I know, and taking me to dinner. I'm downstairs. I laughed. Of course she was. I turned off the lights, locked my studio door, and held the keys in my hand for a long moment. Cold metal. Warm future. Some dreams don't arrive wearing music. Sometimes they sound like your own footsteps finally walking into the life you wanted. My mother always said my smart mouth would get me into trouble. She just never said trouble would show up at my door in a silk robe holding a wine glass. I told her later in the evening when we were sitting at the balcony. Valentina kissed my forehead. Wise woman, she said, and I laughed. I wrapped my arms around her waist. Outside, the city kept moving. Inside, for once, everything felt still. Honestly, best mistake of my life. And that's a wrap on today's story. I hope it got you. I hope you laughed. I hope you felt something, because that's exactly why we're here. If you have a favorite moment, drop it in the comments below. I read every single one. And if you're new to YuriTales, welcome. You found your people. We drop brand new original GL stories every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. So hit that subscribe button and turn on your notifications so you never miss a story. Thank you so much for watching. It genuinely means everything. Until next time, take care of yourselves. And remember, the best love stories are always the complicated ones. See you soon.